So let's talk about video games. More likely the favorite ones, whether it's your favorite franchise, a favorite game in general, or just something you like about it. But when it comes to video games and its franchises, everyone will always have that one thing that will be their favorite. Their number one, the one that they find that defines them and the personal connection they have to it. For me, that game and franchise is Kingdom Hearts. To be specific, if you are curious, my favorite Kingdom Hearts game is of course Kingdom Hearts 2. Like most, KH2 is one of the beloved titles in the whole franchise. For some it's KH1, others it's Birth by Sleep, or Dream Drop Distance. Or you could be that one guy who likes Kingdom Hearts 3, or even Chain of Memories. And hey, to me, that's alright. If you do, just don't be surprised if you get a look of confusion or disgust when you tell someone you like those entries. If you've noticed, my channel mostly has me talking and rambling on about topics now, and I finally decided to write and talk about my favorite franchise to the best of my abilities. Of course, since it's Kingdom Hearts, I won't be able to show much footage because I'm not taking any chances to get this video copyrighted and all that. When it comes to my favorite franchise, it's a topic I like to try my best to go into full detail and to try to get others to experience the games like I did growing up, as I actually owe a lot to the games, as they sort of made me the person I am today, relating to emotions and bonds. When it comes to the games, everyone says the story is convoluted and hard to understand, and from an outsider's view, I can see where you're coming from, but in my opinion, that's the best part about the franchise. Having a story that's a little hard to understand but still has a nice flow to it is a good way to get the person to keep playing and want to find out more about the plot, characters, and overall lessons of the game. The story of each game goes into so much depth that it actually answers your questions as you play, while also still being able to make you ask more at the same time, to make you even more invested in the lore and all the characters' connections. If you can't tell, the first small thing I'm trying to portray about the franchise is that the overall arcing story across games is something that has an ability to captivate you into liking and understanding the lore, while also connecting with the characters. The writing of the story and the flow of it has actually helped me in a small way as I try to implement similar ideas into projects I'm working on right now. Projects like my own game, where the world and its characters are connected into certain events and emotions, and how each game later will be somewhat related to its story, but still have its own identity. I've been mentioning the characters earlier to explain my thoughts of its writings, but the true star of the games come from its characters. Throughout each game, we are introduced to our main leads and multiple side characters, and I'm not talking about every Disney character, by the way. I'm talking about the characters unique to the actual lore and universe. Before I start though, I will say they did a great job implementing the Disney characters to fit the franchise. Characters such as Yen Sid, before only known as the powerful sorcerer in films such as Fantasia, and in Kingdom Hearts, still has the same role but plays a bigger part in later entries like helping Sora and Riku in Dream Drop Distance. When it comes to the games, that's still the case, as he still has a big role as Mickey's Keyblade Master, and is the one who trained Mickey into becoming a Keyblade wielder, and later puts our main characters to the similar test to become a Keyblade Master. So yeah, not a bad implementation, Square. I'll give them that much. When it comes to the actual characters we all know, well, the main three at least, the first game to the franchise introduced the main three of the overall plot, Sora, Riku, and Kairi. These three would be the basis for games in the future, as we then got them as bad guys, who then became good guys. We got them as their predecessors, and Mickey even got his own little trio with Donald and Goofy, of course. Although they do seem like a copy-paste trope, each one has so much backstory and character development, and as the story progresses, you get to learn more about them, whether it be their personal goals and ambitions, their purpose, and their connections to their friends. Just like in Birth by Sleep, you aren't just the last three possible and capable Keyblade wielders of a previous generation. You play three students on the path to their Mark of Mastery exam, however only one can obtain the level of Master out of the three. As the story progresses, you learn more about them. Ventus, a Keyblade wielder in training who at the beginning doesn't even technically have a Keyblade, so he feels weak and useless compared to his two friends who look out for him like a little brother. Like, imagine being a Keyblade wielder in training and you have to use a wooden makeshift Keyblade. I mean, yes, he does have a Keyblade that he does have a unique wield and fighting style to it, where he holds it with the guard facing out and he holds it kind of like a dagger. I just think that's really cool to explain. But at some points in the story when you're playing Ventus' story, you're literally using the wooden Keyblade, but it's only at the beginning. But I just think it's a funny little thing. You're a Keyblade wielder and you're using a freaking stick at that point. And then there's Aqua, the carrying Keyblade student who is able to go through hardships and do the best she can to save her friends, only for her to think she failed and not know if her actions had even helped until years later. And lastly, there's Terra, the man trying to make things right and find his way after failing the Mark of Mastery and falling into the hands of darkness. Along with their masters and some more characters to the story to show the beginnings of the lore, this was all in one game, and that's just a prequel. With the main three, they are literally just 3 random children that were thrown into the story, and yes, it was explained how they got involved. Not knowing of the world around them, they were sent to the Destiny Islands, a world safe from the hands of darkness, until one fateful day, they were separated and learned the truth of everything. Sora, not wanting to lose his friends he cares for, sets out to find them, only to find that his rival and friend has been consumed by the darkness, and because of that, he learns that he isn't even the rightful owner of the Keyblade, that it didn't originally choose him. He only obtained it because the true owner had fallen and lost his way to the light. All while that is happening, he finds out that the heart of his other friend had been taken, and knowing this, Sora sacrifices himself to save her, turning into a Heartless himself to save his friend. In the very first entry, so many emotions and events happen that answers so little and leaves you with more questions, because being the first game in the series, we never got the answers to the questions we were asking until Birth by Sleep released on the PSP. It wasn't until the second entry, my favorite one, where we started to finally get some answers, starting off with an unfamiliar face. We get introduced to Roxas, a kid spending his days in Twilight Town with his friends, picking up jobs to spend some time at the beach, partaking in tournaments, and living day by day as best he can. But as he goes on, he starts to get hazy memories and feelings that aren't really his, and starts witnessing strange events and starts to question things about him and the things around him. He soon finds out that he himself is no one special, or in this world's language, a nobody, a literal husk of someone who is able to manifest after losing their heart. It's a sad start to the game, as all he wanted to do was enjoy his, unfortunately, first and last summer vacation. To answer more questions, Roxas gets his own game in 358 over 2 days, as it's a prequel to KH2, and Dream Drop Distance gives us an answer as to what happened to the million Keyblade users that just vanished as they become the Dream Eaters in a never-ending dream. Even Organization 13 has characters that make you question and want to learn more about them. And don't get me started on Union Cross, which is a mobile game that gives us the origin of it all, and backstories to some Organization 13 members. I can go on and on about multiple characters and their purpose and portrayal in the games, but I don't want this video to go on forever. But I couldn't talk about characters without talking about the main 7 of Light. The characters and their connections and bonds to each other and strong will to do what's right and to fight even when the odds aren't in their favor is something I really like about it. And yes, I do unironically love the scene that happens in Dream Drop Distance during the final world. It's a scene I can actually relate with now, as I know people who I can say are really good friends that will help out as best they can. Growing up, I was very antisocial. I had a hard time talking to anyone and making friends when I was young. And it was so bad at the young age of 4, I was already seeing a therapist and going to classes on how to talk to people and make friends, to where it became a normal thing. I was an introvert before I even knew what that was. Staying to myself felt safe. I didn't want to leave, but just like the games, events happen where things change. Being in a military family, I moved a lot, so just like the games, I got to meet multitudes of people, each their own person, unique, outgoing, with their own dreams and goals in life, just like me, not to mention with similar hobbies and interests. Just like the games, I wanted a group of friends that I know I could trust and rely on. Of course, not to team up and stop the forces of darkness, but just a big group that can just live in the moment or even just talk to. Friends aren't just people you can rely on. There are people who will remember you no matter where you go. So the best you can do is leave a good mark with each other. And even though there may be some differences and personal feelings get involved, a homie will always be a homie at the end of the day. This series has so many lessons spreading across different characters and entries. Whether it's forgiving someone and seeing the good in them, to be your own person and live that life and make good memories. But most importantly, to cherish the friends you have made and make, since you'll never know when you'll need them the most. While writing this, another thing came to mind. Consider this a poor attempt of me as a philosopher. When it comes to dealing with problems, it never hurts to ask for help. Whether it's you feeling lost in the darkness, feeling like all odds are against you, like you've hit rock bottom, or if the problem is so major that you need someone to talk to, you'll be able to solve that problem with the help of friends at your side, because your friends,
they are my power!